If you want to turn the back ones on, or can you turn this one? I don't know. Whatever you want. That's nice. Like that. Yeah, this is theatrical. Is that better? Yeah, that's great. Okay. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming, for showing out in the rain and all the issues with the L and everything. I really appreciate it. So, so happy. So have some wine, enjoy yourselves, and I'm going to introduce the first reader, who I'm very happy to introduce. Ashley D. Escobar is a writer and filmmaker from San Francisco, residing in New York City. Eileen Miles selected her debut poetry collection, Glib, as the Changes Book Prize winner. Her work has appeared in The Drift, The Brooklyn Rail, and Hobart, among others. Please welcome Ashley.
Hi. Thank you so much, Dante, for having us, and for Spoonbill as well. I'm going to start with a poem called Post Algonquin. That's actually going to be the first poem in my book. Post Algonquin for Spiral. We are in the shop. Can the people in the back hear me?
Yes.
We are in the shop. The perfect functional beverage should have zero sugar or sugar alternatives. I am a sweetener stuck in perpetual genesis. I don't have ideas, I just have words. Cherry blossom LaCroix tastes like a cherry cordial. Chocolates are for breakfast, but I don't eat breakfast out of contempt. Is noise dad rock? At least that's what Thurston asks me. I'd rather play guitar than write. I want to paint layers and layers of noise, celestial sound. Whatever happened to Weldon Keys? I'm a post-beat it girl. I drive Weldon's Plymouth Savoy into a lighthouse. I either create or curate chaos. I'm a speed walker, fast talker, soul stalker. The eyes I employ, the eyes I destroy, dissect, control. I'm laboring under misconception that everything is cringe. What isn't cringe? I'll speak in hieroglyphics, I'll be prolific after I got the decrepit cat to play piano. We are in the shop is our mantra. It's okay to be perfectly disgraceful. I am perfect. Are you perfect? Walking in New York is like scrolling the internet. Woody's right about decay. This one is called 4-5-24. Couldn't tell if she's majoring in perfection or imperfection. Adrian Brody expresses gratitude online. Can we skip her birthday to watch Curb? My best days are my everydays, especially when I run into you. And this is a series of sonnets, like loose sonnets, called Potato of the Earth. 1. Surprise applause from the back of backyard heaven. Watch me eat a cherry on public access television. Chemical-free lipstick smear along with Diet Coke. Thirst, rotting enamel, starling arrangement hunched over a Stratocaster. Midlife crisis guitar, it's a 6-string minimum, and I've lost my drink ticket to a stuffed whale. 2. The wall stares back at me, olive lies head plopped up, can't make out Malcolmus over the AC. Trembling syrup, 4th of July, indoors. Fridge, lost all the ice cubes. To the sink dinosaur, kale lodged between teeth. When is dinosaur dream time? I play tambourine funky. Our names form a slant rhyme. Our forms form a bedroom where an intersection waits outside. 3. He's getting his sleepies in by the lightning bugs. If I had $1 million, I'd get him a lifetime supply of confetti cookies, but he'd scarf them all in one sitting. A morbid one-act play that starts in Columbus, Ohio and ends in Central Park. Maybe he shouldn't have chosen vodka tonic over a lime ricky. Should have listened to February and July. Instead, he hit a lick. 4. Clawed gaze pedal sounds make Aiden cover his ears. Fingers sticky from non-alcoholic bitters. Why don't you mingle? Gen Z exposure therapy inside Billy's record shop. East Williamsburg should just be called Bushwick. What do I know? I'm a toy giraffe with a hiccuping habit. Hush for the next band. Do you have the time? I have the time off. It's glancing at me sideways. 5. Fidgety Philip leads us to the snack shack. Out of the brambles, into the half moon. cherry lobster twilight picnic under lightning bugs and fireflies, personal preference pizza with pickled pomegranates and oysters, post-Met pre-Hamlet, please don't choke on the pearls, I'm looking for a lime Ricky in a swimming pool through this distortion, I only find whirls of pale pink against lace. 6. Coming and going, dropping your joint first into a trash can, then off my balcony. Leftover Power Bowl for breakfast. You know you're allowed to eat in my bed and clap backwards to the cats on the street. The poet on stage, and I simultaneously thought of blackout curtains. I wish everything was sheer. Just text me when you're ready. 7. Girl dinner beside a school bus. I'd like my peas pretty please. Apple pay, batch of a sailor dress. My beatnik buddy is named Henri, not Pierre. He's freewheeling, not third-wheeling. I found my book of songs over my shoulder. Breeding love in a box of leftovers is hard enough. I'm waiting for the lights to turn off so I can come unseen, undone, unchanged. Earthing. The first thing I feel when I wake up is your hand over my face. We love long films and poems, but the search is more entertaining. Yes, the express jump from 72nd to 42nd is the hardest part of leaving. Someone tells me that my breast is out for all of Bleecker Street to witness. Where's Matt to put it back for me? I want to nap on the highest branch. I worry that the black coat in the courtyard is yours, but you left it at home. I'll never let them turn the whole city into Murray Hill. Apparently, I still cross the road like I don't know where I am. I am kissing you in a landscape, and everyone has accidental flowers in their hair. We earth next to the azaleas as April gives us her final showers. You understand that I am the poem and the one writing it. I steadfast, a statue amongst dreams. The prodigal daughter of California. Spending too little time in California, she feels as though I've disowned her. Fog-kissed skin, poolside cherry cola, say no to desserts, yes to another kiss. Trim my bangs over the sink, learning to say sure thing. I used to want to be chill, pocket seashell gramophone, landslide heaven, a run-on sentence, baby leopard maxi dress, best friend's car in a golden hour breeze, skimpy hibiscus thong bikini. Sometimes you see something like a bus bench on an empty street and you think of the suburbs falling. Barney's closing, going out of business sale, escalator to the penthouse bar, cigarette in one hand, martini in the other. In case of an earthquake, you can kiss me at the Chateau Marmont. And since we're in Brooklyn, and also because Sally Rooney's new book came out, here's a special treat for a poem called On Penguins in Brooklyn. The protagonist feels like she's never leaving, stuck on a moving walkway in the middle of Cincinnati International Airport in Kentucky. Headphones dangling, she listens to Mitski sing about writing sad songs. 20 is too young to be at an airport bar. Does this count as being in Kentucky? The protagonist keeps forgetting she moved to Brooklyn. The protagonist forgot about the olive farmer from Spain, his red curls like bed springs on Valentine's Day. But she doesn't forget about you. She reads. She read some Sally Rooney book, the one where the protagonist meets that married couple at a poetry reading. She keeps looking for you at every poetry reading, but you're busy drinking $7 blueberry matcha tea in that new cafe by your Brooklyn brownstone, the cafe that used to be a yoga studio, that used to be a light bulb store, where she helped you pick out a penguin-shaped nightlight for your son's nursery. Your gelatinous wife didn't like it. Your gelatinous wife never liked her. There aren't any penguins in Brooklyn, but there were penguins at the 21C Hotel at the writers' conference you took her to, where everyone spoke on posing and voice and Sally Rooney. The cluster of neon green penguins still haunts her. There are no penguins in Brooklyn. There are bridges. Do you ever think of the Brooklyn Bridge? How 20 dead bodies are perpetually suspended in its granite towers while she's turning 21 in August? Or is it only the Queensboro Bridge Fitzgerald promised you as the city's first wild promise, promises a fist fight and fire escape, a Glossier lip balm. And you know that I've never liked Sally Rooney, but I've never told anyone that. Like, I've never told anyone that your son still carries his stuffed kangaroo, Rooney, when he's forced to visit you those 2 weekends a month. You don't think 2 weeks is very long, but I tell you, it only takes 2 weeks to die of dehydration as you sip your blueberry matcha latte. I drink my coffee black, it makes you insecure. I wish I didn't have to attend poetry readings with your other gentrifying friends. They keep asking me if I received the new Sally Rooney proof. Your friends all work at FSG, that place that wouldn't publish your third novel and you had to outsource it in a foreign country. I like the idea that there are penguins in Brooklyn and that you still text me, "Where are you?" when I'm snorting coke at a party with the Jonathans. Franzen or Lethem, never sure which one is which, except one is friends with your immortal enemy. Arch enemies to lovers is your least favorite trope. We're definitely tropes, like every Sally Rooney couple, like every Phoebe Bridgers song. I met the olive farmer in Bushwick. You thought everyone in Bushwick was an olive farmer, but they were beekeepers. You always went boating on the Atlantic. I've never liked the Atlantic. Their crosswords are never hard enough. My friends think you can't get hard. I think it's hard whenever it's winter, and I haven't seen you for 2 weeks. And you remind me 2 weeks isn't very long. And you actually like the new Sally Rooney book. You think it's your best one yet, but I think it's missing the Bronx Zoo. Because while there aren't any penguins in Brooklyn, there are penguins in New York, and Sally Rooney will keep pretending she's a college student because she's deeply unhappy, and I will still be in Brooklyn. I saw one on my windowsill in a silver stovepipe hat. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Yeah, that's so great. And I didn't do this on purpose, but I really, at this reading, we have Rachel, who is the inaugural Changes Prize winner, and we have Ashley, who's the newest Changes Prize winner. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to introduce the next poet here. It's Matt. Matt Proctor is a poet, independent filmmaker, frontman of the noise band System Lord, and the host of Easy Paradise Open Mic every Monday night at KGB Red Room in the East Village. He airs the award-winning poetry reality show, Scenes from a Life, on Manhattan Public Access Television and anytime on YouTube. His books include LA Story, Myself Included, and Vigilante Justice. Please, Matt.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Ashley, for the amazing bio. It's the most professional bio I've ever had. All right, I'm going to read from my Cosmopolitan Micro Diaries. I'm just going to go straight through. This is Treble Grapes, September 17th. Post-flop talk geoguesser. A human body is a lot of upkeep. Adds to the mystique. Worth a try. Hitting for the cycle. The smoke broke my tooth. I sit at the kids' table of poetry. We fucked over a lot of people to build this empire. Gross. Eyes in the back of my screen. Gotta write some shit for next week. This is what I'm going through. Sitting in my Bank Street townhouse, which I own alone. I am on my own. He says there's beautiful stuff. Writing, not thinking. I don't take anybody's advice. The shoe walks. Fluctuations of polygraph. Fare evasion for cash assistance. Training in Meisner. I see them all the time. It's this pact I've made with myself not to put anything down, but what pools in the prostate of the steeple. Shoehorn hypnotisms. Exorcism masks. Ashley drags her posse to the theater of the picnic table. I remember her best with Entourage. Smokey on Ludlow. I was skating all the way to Chicago. Peer-to-peer networks got divorced. Never felt better in their life. And the time went on, knocking you off the shelf. I have 2 modes, notebook and live stream. A vow of poverty, these cramped prayers. Composing while walking. Nuggets in the jewels. A thankful post about getting a server job. Playing the long game in the long run. Dying for my principles. I will die on that hill. My Roman Empire, the hill I will die on. Through him, with him, in him. Perry Farrell on meth, ramming Dave Navarro in the face with his fist on stage in Paris. That's fine with me. Lacking doves, not second guessing. Watching Even Stevens, predicting Shia LaBeouf. Stiff Park utilizing an over community of shovels. Winning the SEC conference. Don't make me redundant, Steve Spurrier. Ohtani goes 6 for 6. With a splash for 50-50. while pitching and betting on baseball. I'm an old piece of gear, a tube amp, running into Omkar. We discussed being unprepared before the lion, which stiff-armed me with bad luck. In my piss-poor visage amongst the cobblestone yard polished by centuries, Peter Stuyvesant, my co-worker, as Tricky Dick nude in a Richard Foreman hysteria tornado. Show 'em what you're made of. Thousands of pounds of baby oil, freak off. Now the feds raid the vaults of blackmail on tape celebrating the big 5-0 with Chad Smith at Brooklyn Bowl. Fuck it, we just want to play. Do you mind if we play through? These people think they're kings. Kings think they're gods. You were a god, recording the equipment in the loft to the Oval Office. We're plotting a conspiracy theory in the Rose Garden courtyard, not getting a raise, walking into a hit they set up. It sounds nice and rosy, then they blow your brains out with a cigar on Zoom. Unintentionality, a theory about catching flies in my peripheral vision, the gloaming tiara of a lunar eclipse. Got 2 shots to fail the class, and I did both times. Screams Hartenstein at the GHHS talent show till his throat's raw. Pulling an MP after school. She was the Burnett mayor of Woodhill. Looking across the electric field. Ohms in the air like Pete and Pete. Smoke on the water. Fire in the sky. Morally opposed to work regimen. Instituted discipline. Practice other than in life. It has to happen on accidental purpose. Anti-productivity, anti-achievement, anti-technique, anti-clout, anti-people not liking my Instagram posts. Thanks for the support, assholes. They were all fucking dicks. Viral loose-fitting video tip cup, mystic, awkward, fear death. If your name is not on the list, it's on there too. It comes out in this aborted way, half-formed. That's the point. Compassion for the attentive. Like Moten says, it's all collaboration. A guest on Bobby Stone's radio show in Dumbo, Grand Street had to be transcendent, subcutaneous bracelet menorahs, dealing pieces of shred to the maps of the year. Many work on the poetry farm, suffering the death of the minivan. It couldn't have gone any worse. A song reborn by having it inverted, playing in the other room through walls. My song will go on, getting my ass beat, dragged down by outside forces, sugar in my bicuspid on suicide watch and old paintings of the Williamsburg Bridge, circa August 10th. Language annuity showers. The swelling has gone down from sleeping with my feet below my head elevated. The magic baseball turned into a house. There's beautiful stuff in there. Vimeo oceanographer Larry David's ancestors owned slaves. I'm a young stallion in the prime of my youth. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles. Such are promises. But the boxer still remains. Howdy, Big Jack. Don't knock. Just come. Drawing back the curtains around sunset, we feel like adults. Getting on in years. Putting the scallops in the oven. Leaving the sweet potatoes out to thaw overnight. Low-level bureaucrat, remedial office worker, creating paper, offloading tasks, delegating responsibilities, managing at the limits of the self, looking for the right song, but there's some beautiful stuff in there. Gee, thanks. Edit these $4, $8, green juice fast oatmeal smoothie goes down easy. The coyotes are there to greet him in the mushroom kingdom of Gerudo Valley gurus fancying themselves narcos. Maybe if we'd had this medicine, his brother John would still be alive. Squeezing the bananas out of the hippies, locating exactly in my youth when distant memories occurred. A Saturday morning live-action cartoon television show that aired 1988 to 1991, starring Jim Varney as Ernest P. Worrell, when Guns N' Roses briefly reconciled the disparate high school subcultures, and I was 3 to 6 years old. We had the crisscross tape on Quay, where my mom moved after my parents divorced. But I also remember my Uncle Pat questioning their backwards clothes, watching them on ABC from the second floor bedroom on Mulford, where my dad taught me Three Blind Mice and Mary Had a Little Lamb on piano. All my hair is turning white, geolocating by audible bumps in engine duration and speed. Personality department store, feeding box office poison to the professional managerial class. 731 mental math. Winter in the city is hard. Why did I finish with that? See you next week. You put cocaine on your dick, you don't feel nothing. The truth's dying because nobody's buying it. Jeffrey Lewis is in the wrong Ferrari. A lot more gray hairs appear than last year. The personal is universal. Is that vague enough to be true? Time to fuck myself up with sleep. Another summer down the drain. The place is full, packed, jammed. To see him do his thing. Patron saint of the disowned. I like New York City better than nature. If only God sculpted an environment as thriving and stimulating as Soho or the Village that went on for thousands of acres. Remember the clouds in the sky? Remember September in the rain? Wouldn't surprise me there were pitch decks. The 4 pillars of brand strategy, good for old Tom Morris. I wasn't stealing his identity. My hair was already committed to growing big, blue jeans and red heels. Mise en scène la palabra. We can find something for you to do. Going before corporate death squad 5 p.m., they put baby in a corner. It made an impression even at 9 years old, airing after the news, learning how to tell time with my body, on stage and off, knowing intimately what time it is at any point of the day without consulting clocks, watches, or phones. Is my hair gonna go white from these toothaches? I smell like I'm dead. Shredded cheese in the paper shredder, glued together like interlocking storylines. Maybe I'll get fired before Wednesday. ASDF, QWERTY. Can't get out of my shift, 5 stages of owl. You just want me to upload whatever's hot right now. I reject that trend-based favorite playing kind of thinking. 2 weeks till I can get fixed. Will my body hold out from ice cream, which I shouldn't be eating? It never did. Sore in bed all weekend, it still hurts. Usually the body heals itself overnight.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Oh man. Okay, next up we have Jonas. Everyone else had a bio, and I just wrote Jonas! Exclamation point. Jonas is the owner of this incredible bookstore that I've had the pleasure of working in for the past 3 years, and he's an incredible poet. So I'd like to welcome him up. Jonas Kyle.
Hi. Okay, so this first one is called, wait, hold on. Hi. So this one's called How to Paint. The main thing if you're an artist making a painting is you don't want to castrate your painting. This means not cutting it in half or slicing off a sizable part of it. I was thinking heavily about this caveat while I was making a painting 2 days ago. I kind of did want to cut it in half or slice off a part, but I held back. It wasn't actually a painting really, because instead of paint, I used tape, special tapes. So I guess you could call what I was doing a taping, not a painting. Interestingly, one of my hero guides for living in this world is Piet Mondrian. Another caveat, don't underestimate Mondrian. In my youth, I studied his paintings carefully, which many don't do. Recently, I learned that the last thing he was working on before he died was a taping, not a painting. He used strips of colored electrical tape to get his lines against a white ground. That's what I do too. Perhaps more advanced than him because I have a vast array of better tapes than he did. There is progress for you. But with tape, instead of splotching paint around, which for the most part I think is gross and yields bad results, you do a lot of razor cutting, which makes me think of plastic surgery or circumcision, even castration. You are more operating with a knife on skin-like flat material on a rubber mat than using brushes to apply viscous stuff to a canvas. Making a taping is being surgical, cutting, not just playing around with brush strokes. I'm not putting painting down per se, but I think most people use it not to the best advantage. Squishy and falsely expressive. Anyway, pursuing my own taping endeavors, I had to cut up a box that contained Apartamento magazine shipped from Europe. I liked this box because it was crisscrossed with brown packaging tape and also had mixed in with it yellow tape that said Apartamento on it, like crime scene or caution, but in this case, Apartamento. I thought this box had potential for me to make a taping out of it. So I splayed it as if gutting a deer I had just shot in the deer-ridden burbs on somebody's front lawn. The box has 6 sides like a die. I made a straight continuous strip of 4 of them. But once I had the strip, I got anxious about how to make successful artwork out of it. This box had come from Europe in rough warehouses and cargo holds. It had held thick, lumpy, heavy magazines. It was bumped and bruised in the passage. At the bottom of the strip was a depressing depression of beat-up cardboard, followed by some unaccountable double thickness of cardboard, which I hated. How was I going to pull this disjointed phalanx into the unity I wanted to see that impressed me? I'm a hard judge. I don't like much art, even if I made it. I especially dislike slick painters who think they can get away with a slight of strokes. Franz Klein can suck my dick. I don't buy it. Robert Motherwell can rot in hell. But I like Frank Stella, early on at least. Everyone gets messed up by the Sistine Chapel, an emphatic brainwash. Frank did, as most others do too. But, well, I'm tired of all this bad art that I won't look at anymore. So I'm making my own stuff to get out of here alive. In this regard, I always think about Andy Warhol, how he went around galleries to see if anyone was making better paintings than he was. But he's a thief. Stole his whole mantra from Georgia O'Keeffe, just in different motifs. Still, I like Andy even so. What's not to like? Very nice looking. But at a certain point, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm done with deference or reference. I'll take my stand on my own terms. No more derivations, no imitation. So I have this strip of cardboard, this cadaver of a box that shipped a Partimento magazine from Spain, and in the end I finally did have to cut it in half. So this is this other one here, which is kind of scribbled. This one's called Houston Street. Shit! Shoot! Shot! Scheisse! The leaves are busting out on the city's trees, masking the architecture. I can't stand spring. I guess I have to get used to the foliage again. All you can see are these green blobs and racks of city bikes spreading like cancer under the green blobs. Trees are a disease. Bikes are a virus. And you, Elon Musk, you elongated muskrat, bucket full of muck. When you're a dead duck, we'll chuck your bony chips into our asphalt spine for good luck. Viva Houston Street, viva combustion, internal, infernal, insurmountable energy from Earth. Creatures. We on Houston Street will never bend the knee to the EV. Internally, externally, eternally, combustion roars its lion cheetah heart. Lying, cheating, embezzling, you cheap-ass fake you yoga teacher. Solar energy makes nice electricity. Chinsey for your chakras. Or I don't know what that's. I mean, it's a little bit rough. It's hard for me to. I realize I became your friend just to hate you so terribly afterwards. I'll get you. Watch out. Lie in wait, but it won't save you. Even in my dreams, I see your sorry ass turned out on the street and call you an asshole as you beg for money in your systole, parasol, pension investments go die in the Middle East. Bad oil and no center like the Ottoman Empire once was, but it's gone now. Wanton laughter from another dirty dozen revelers at 3 a.m. on Houston Street. A fight breaks out under the sycamores every night. Motorcycles and trucks, brooding Wagner. Fast cars, fast women, dreams smell big before they go bust. Electricity, explosions, who cares which? Meaningfulness always sits the place of final freedom. Can't stop a star from the morning, fire engine blaring on parade in this crosscut. The deep nation soul picks one big roadway to strut its stuff, which is us. I mean, it's a little bit, I'm not sure, clean it up a little bit, but, so I'm gonna just read like one more small one and then another one, and that's it. What's going on here? Okay. Go bugs, bijou peddlers, diamond cutting crusties, whole economies based on bling, and more refinado expressions of taste like De Beers or El Rosa. The city is so selfish. No stoops or any nice place to sit on in the cool streets. I love this weather. Perfect. Think I'll stay. Wait a sec. Calm before the storm. What are you packing for? If there's a hurricane, or gonna be a hurricane, I don't know, evacuate? Once upon a time, big gals got buried with their jewelry when they died, in the crypt with the drips. I guess in a bid to bring what they got to the other side. We still think about that, always do no matter what. Religion's in the mix. How exactly do we survive the death we got here? Bring something, soul cloth, soul sponge, soul wisp, soul je ne sais quoi, soul something. Bring it to the other side with the jewels and sundry beloved keepsakes, cowboy hat, and boots, pensive ideas, poetry, maybe some food, or dog companion, but alive. What about your favorite pet who died years ago? Bring them if they're not already waiting there for you. Can't help thinking it's true that we get through by a pube hair or a whisker, a very slight slip. All right, and then the last thing I want to read. So my father just passed away like recently, so I wrote a poem for him. It's not very long, but I wrote it, and so I'll read that. And then, okay. Well, we lost a true original the other day, James Wells, aka Jim Kyle, also known as James the Brush, or Hairbrush, Papa or Papa, maybe even as Jimbo, depending on the ask. Piece of rock from the same quarry as Mark Twain and Richard Russo, vast reader of mysteries. Jim's favorite magazine was The Economist, those chippy smarties of a failed empire. He liked subscriptions to magazines of intelligent discourse, even the NYRB. Connoisseur of fuck-ups and new beginnings, but definitely no friend to the tech swerve. He tried many times before, but he hung on for us kids and Marie, and finally he found his groove, which lasted a good time, longer than expected, and I think he liked it, sort of getting clear in the about what to do.
Thanks so much, Jonas. Thank you. See you for Jonas. Okay, so our last reader tonight is Rachel Mannheimer, whose book Earth Room is like one of my favorite books of poetry and like totally changed what I think a book of poetry can do. So I'm just so honored that she's here, and I'm gonna read her bio now. Rachel Mannheimer was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, and lives in Brooklyn. Her first book, Earth Room, was selected by Louis Gluck as the inaugural winner of the Changes Book Prize. She works as a literary scout, teaches poetry at Drew University, and is a contributing editor at the Yale Review. Please welcome Rachel.
Thank you so much, Jose and Jonas, for having us. Thanks to Mannheimer. This is like the most beautiful crowd of a poetry reading I've ever seen. I'm gonna read a few from the book, which I haven't read from in a while, and then I think just one new one. Can you hear okay? Back. Providence. The day after we'd met in a bar where his ex-girlfriend was on stage, I ran into him, asked for his number, later texted the only other Chris in my phone. Hey, what are you up to? He was sitting by a fireplace in Canada with his wife and child. I took a train to where the new Chris lived, in Providence, cried when he asked about my mom, emphasized my great love for my dad, told him I had nothing going on and didn't mind about the distance, tore up several cocktail napkins, and left a pile of snow. Then boarded the train onto Boston, slept beside my childhood best friend beneath a blanket photo printed with her face, a joke gift from her old love. Dreamed that in my dreams I saw the future. She had that pink Bruce Nauman poster they used to give away at Dia Beacon. Press as much of the front surface of your body, palms in or out, left or right cheek, against the wall as possible. Press very hard and concentrate. I told her I doubted I'd see him again. Beacon. She told me, Will said on the phone, of the woman he had once described as a more feral me, that when she found out who you were, she screamed. I knew how smug I was with Chris, developing an interest in candles for the home. It wasn't that I loved him more than everyone before him, but I felt now that people had been wrong in emphasizing how much work relationships required. The days when he was gone, I studied the squirrels and my wall calendar and felt as lonely as a mom. Will and I had shared an office and had a sort of joke where we played at being office workers, mashing the keyboard like kittens, puppet jawing into the phone. There was a skunk I also watched, though I had thought that skunks preferred the nighttime. There were no skunks where I grew up, and then for a while I learned nothing new about animals. Okay, you go late. We both moved east for college. At his school, they called him Alaska Dan. At mine, 2 hours north, I was largely unknown. I had, up till then, thought myself naturally outgoing, but it became apparent that had been environmental. In college, we agreed that it was size. Any piece of art made big enough was cool. It was good to have a concept, but size could be a concept or substitute for one. We loved Robert Smithson, art so big you could walk on it, a rock jetty spiraling 1,500 feet into the Great Salt Lake. Or maybe not size, scale. Size determines an object, Smithson wrote, but scale determines art. The scale of spiral jetty fluctuates depending on where you are. Dan was, anyway, a better Alaskan. Camping for his family meant hiking in somewhere to pitch a tent. My family drove to campsites. When my new peers asked what Alaska was like, I couldn't say, having not yet figured out the norm to which I should compare it. Discussion of the varying hours of daylight, the duration of seasons, only got me so far. There was a Walmart, there were movie theaters. I don't know, it's like anywhere. Alaska Dan, meanwhile, was possessed of an exotic knowledge, bears, avalanche safety, which, when I was with him in the company of others, was gratifyingly shared. In a winter storm, we walked around, pushing cars out of snowbanks. I'd seen at Dia Beacon, Dan eventually had a car, smaller Smithson works, ones you couldn't touch. Map of broken glass, Atlantis, a pile of broken glass. Leaning mirror, actually 2 mirrors back to back, angled into a pile of sand. Closed mirror square, Cayuga Salt Mine project. Once, gazing into the trick of the mirror, I got too close, heard the crunch of rock salt underfoot, got warned away. In Smithson's formulation of site and non-site, the site was the actual salt mine under Cayuga Lake outside Ithaca. His closed mirror square was one of several non-sites incorporating the mine's salt. The interior of the museum, he wrote, somehow mirrors the site. Dan was a physics major turned art major. I took several art classes, but was an English major, more practical. In his studio, Dan made large paintings of Bible stories with robot figures in all the roles. Robots in Eden, robot fathers prepared to sacrifice robot sons. I was making giant urns out of corrugated cardboard I painstakingly distressed. I had nowhere to store them. For his mirror displacements, Smithson positioned mirrors in the landscape. These pieces he documented, then dismantled. Mirrors in the dirt can create a tunnel of sky. Gravel heaped against a mirror creates a heap of double size. I don't think mirrors affect scale. Most of Smithson's work was designed to change or disappear entirely over time. At Dia, they sweep up and maintain the edges of those piles of salt and sand. Spiral Jetty was, for several years, submerged under the Great Salt Lake. Then it reappeared. In high school, I had dated one of Dan's best friends, and then I briefly dated Dan, and then he dated my best friend, and then we drove across the country. After that, I lose track, but there were times when we slept together and times when he let me stay at his apartment while he slept with someone else, times when we swam in the ocean or rode his 2 bikes down the concrete steps of a municipal plaza. I moved to Brooklyn. Dan moved back west. With his wife, Nancy Holt, Smithson made a film called Swamp in 1971, shot in a swamp in New Jersey, dense with yellow reeds. Holt advances through the swamp. Smithson tells her where to go. And I'll just read one more shorter one, seasonal, a high holidays poem. It's called Tashlik. In the new apartment, I felt a kind of horror, imagining a man and his controlling stench. It was a furnished sublet, the furnishings reflective of the taste of a woman just my age who framed botanical prints. Laundry in the basement, super in 3K, a saxophonist in 4A who practiced with a competent restraint. In 4F, a portly, silent dog. The unseen person in 4C snored through their alarm for minutes every morning. The man from 5C, balding at alarmingly my age while waiting on a dryer, asked with some presumption my plans for the high holidays, then asked me to the park where a group of us invested with the spirit of that of which we wanted to dispose sticks and stones and threw them in the lake. Bread is more traditional but harmful to the waterfowl. The water should traditionally flow. Still, it was symbolic of the symbol, and we were sincere. The tenant in 4C, I couldn't blame them if they felt betrayed when I loudly started dating for betraying me to management. A man gets an idea of you, and after that, it's difficult to prove that you belong. My belongings were in storage in a unit up the coast. Nightly, I walked home along the park's perimeter. The sea lions, enclosed, barked like human geese. Thank
you. That's the reading, everybody. We have copies of Earth Room, Rachel's book, at the front desk for sale if anybody wants to pick one up. There's some wine. Hang out, be merry. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like I would go to like stuff that my professors had, and like stuff that Grey Wolf Press would put on, but never like this.
I just moved and I have my belongings back, so it feels nice. They're beautiful.
Oh my god. It's a disaster.